Kia ora. The challenge was put out to create a mixed media layout, and we were able to use texture paste, water paints, all sorts of other things. So I took this sort of a crazy kind of picture of my daughter that was captured on her 17th birthday celebrations. She had a bit of a garden party with some friends, and this went into the evening. So wearing glow-in-the-dark bands and things like that was just a activity that they sort of did as the evening progressed. So I'm sort of pulling from this picture the bright pinks, the fluorescent colours, which I'm just using here from the water paint tray. And it's a colour that I haven't used a lot, but it's quite fun to be able to pull it out into here. And I played around with the paler pink colour, but it didn't quite work the same. So just sticking with the fluoro pink and using the wide water brush. So this brush has already got the water inside it, which just helps with the mess and no cups of water that our cats could possibly knock over. So I'm just using quite a wet brush and squeezing it as I go to do this, and I'm going to let that dry for a little bit. Now that it's dry, I'm going to spritz it with a little bit of some pink ink. So this is just some Pixie re-inker, which has been dropped into a bit of a spray bottle. These spray bottles are quite cool because you can choose whatever colours you want. You just use a few drops and add some water to mix it in. What I've done here is I've used the stencil mats, and I have put these through my Cricut, and I have just chosen one of the background cuts, and I'm going to use some of the texture paste, which is an opaque matte texture paste, and I'm just spreading that across, and I just go back through and I just make sure it's nice and thick, nice and even, but not too even, because I want it to sort of carry that crazy eclecticness that the photograph carried across as well. So peeling that off, you can see the dots left behind. It's really important to get the stencil washed and what you put it on with washed as quickly as possible, just so that it can be reused again and again. So I'm using a couple of the cards that are part of I Heart Us, and so these are the Picture My Life cards that come with this, and I've used just the hearts one here, and then there's a piece of stripy paper that was just an offcut from one of them, and I'm going to use the complements from this set as well. The colours just seem to stick with that vibrantness of the glow-in-the-dark bands that she is wearing. So I've chosen a few that I think will kind of fitted. I went with one set of the stickers and mostly with some of the chipboard or the thicker card shapes. These come just on the sheet and you pop them out, and they do need a little bit of sanding or just something to take off where they were attached to the main board. So just pulling these out and grabbing them to stick on. I find it quite good to cut around the shapes, because then you can sort of position it and see where you like it and where it feels right before you actually stick it down, because if you have to keep re-sticking stuff, it tends to lose its stickiness and it can fall out later on. So playing around here, pulling some bits and pieces and searching for stuff seems to be the story of my life, and thinking as I sort of watch it, or not watch it as I look, but I'm also testing here. The texture paste isn't quite dry, it's almost there, with quite nice warm sunny day today, so it is drying quickly without the need of a heat gun or anything. Adding to the sense of mixed media, I'm going to use some of our paint drop kind of or splatter stamps that we've had, and I've used these quite a few times. They're called Ink Blot Flair, and again it's kind of one of those sets that I don't know if I'll ever pass it on or get rid of it, because it can kind of be used for all sorts of things and in all sorts of purposes. So I've chosen to use to start with to do this in Carolina ink, and I'm also going to use some of our Bluebird ink as well as one of the Emerald inks, just to give it a little bit more of a messy look. And I'm not great at ink splatters, they tend to go all over the place, but these give me a little bit of control, and they still add to that, that crazy messy look, which is what I'm sort of going for with this page. So the other beauty of the acrylic stamps is you can kind of look through them and sort of visualize in a way what they might look like when they're stamped, and seeing how that fits and the angles and positions that you're going to need for those. It's quite cool. So now I'm actually going to stick all these pieces down. I'm going to use some thin foam tape to attach the photo to the two pieces immediately behind it, and I'm doing that just to lift this up because I know I'm going to want to tuck those flowers under later, and just sticking them down. And then I'm just going to use the Tombow tape runner to stick down the papers. Now with this, with the final piece, because I've used the texture paste, I'm using the foam tape to stick down this piece, not to lift it up, but just to help it to have a more even and stronger stick, because I'm not sure how well it will stick to the background. Now I decided that I wanted the photo slightly off skew, and so I've made the squares that it's sitting on even, but the other pieces aren't so even. So I popped out this chipboard heart tab type thing earlier, just trying to pop it into a place, and I end up deciding to stick it at the top of the layout, which I'll sort out later. And I've pulled out this colourful scallop from the compliments pack as well, so I'm just tucking that down there. And these little dots, like I mentioned before, I need to sand them down a wee bit, so I'll do that off camera in a bit and then get them stuck on. So I'm going to use our little mini stapler to attach the tab at the top, and I've cut some lettering again with the Cricut using the artistry font on some of the silver glitter paper, and I'm going to attach that down the bottom. So just tidying all of those up, and here we have just a close-ups of what it looks like, and just some of that texture and the other elements in it. Hey, thanks for watching.